Today, we're diving into a major development in the Jeffrey Epstein case, a story that continues to grip the nation's attention. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has announced the release of key documents, shedding new light on Epstein's dark and disturbing network. These files, set to be made public today, February 27, 2025, include flight logs and names tied to Epstein's operations. Bondi emphasized protecting over 250 alleged victims' identities, ensuring their personal details remain redacted for privacy. The Attorney General described the contents as deeply troubling, calling them pretty sick, while underscoring their importance. This move comes amid growing bipartisan pressure from lawmakers, demanding transparency about Epstein's connections and crimes. Bondi's office has worked tirelessly to prepare these documents, balancing public interest with the need to safeguard victims. Epstein, once a financier with ties to powerful elites, was arrested in 2019 for sex trafficking minors, but died by suicide in jail. His associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted in 2022, now serving a 20-year sentence for her role in his criminal enterprise. The release aims to uncover more about Epstein's vast web of influence, potentially implicating several high-profile figures across industries. While no exact time has been confirmed for the release, it is expected to happen before the end of the day today. Now, shifting gears, let's turn our attention to Capitol Hill, where Congress faces yet another contentious battle over funding. Lawmakers are scrambling to avoid a government shutdown, with just days left to pass a crucial spending bill. House Republicans and Senate Democrats remain at odds, clashing over budget priorities and policy riders attached to the bill. Speaker Mike Johnson insists on significant cuts to domestic programs, while Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer pushes back fiercely. Schumer argues such cuts would harm vulnerable communities, warning they could derail progress on healthcare and education. Meanwhile, President Biden has called for bipartisan compromise, urging both sides to find common ground before it's too late. Failure to reach an agreement would lead to widespread disruptions, including furloughs for federal workers and halted services. Negotiations have grown increasingly tense in recent hours, raising concerns about whether a deal can be struck in time. Adding to the chaos, some hardline GOP members oppose any compromise, threatening to block the bill even if leadership reaches a deal. This standoff underscores deeper ideological divides within Congress, highlighting challenges facing governance in a polarized era. Next, we head overseas to Ukraine, where tensions escalate once again, as Russian forces intensify attacks along the eastern front lines. President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the nation this morning, vowing resilience despite mounting pressure from Moscow. Zelensky praised Ukrainian troops for their bravery under fire, crediting their efforts with holding off repeated assaults. However, he also called on Western allies for increased military aid, stressing that Ukraine needs advanced weapons to defend itself. The US and European Union have pledged continued support, but questions linger about how quickly aid will arrive. Meanwhile, Russia claims its operations target military infrastructure, though reports suggest civilian areas have been heavily impacted. Humanitarian organizations warn of worsening conditions for civilians, with thousands displaced and critical supplies running low. The United Nations Security Council met yesterday to discuss the crisis, but divisions among member states prevented meaningful action. China and India abstained from condemning Russia outright, further complicating diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions. Back in Washington, the Federal Reserve made headlines this week, announcing a quarter-point interest rate hike during its latest meeting. Chair Jerome Powell cited persistent inflationary pressures, despite signs of economic growth slowing slightly in recent months. The decision drew mixed reactions from economists and analysts, some applauding caution, while others fear stifling recovery. Powell reiterated the Fed's commitment to achieving price stability, even if it means enduring short-term market volatility. Wall Street responded with uncertainty following the announcement, as investors weighed potential impacts on future earnings. Small business owners expressed concern about rising borrowing costs, worried it might hinder expansion plans or hiring initiatives. On the campaign trail, former President Donald Trump held rallies in 3 states, energizing supporters ahead of November's presidential election. Trump focused heavily on immigration and border security policies, promising stricter measures if elected to a second term. He criticized current administration efforts as ineffective, accusing them of failing to address what he calls a crisis. Vice President Kamala Harris countered his remarks later that evening, arguing comprehensive reform requires collaboration, not division. Harris outlined proposals aimed at streamlining legal pathways while investing in technology to enhance border safety. Polls show immigration remains one of voters' top concerns nationwide, making it a central issue in upcoming debates and town halls. Finally, turning to climate change, global leaders convened virtually, discussing strategies to meet ambitious carbon reduction targets. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres warned time is running out, urging nations to accelerate transitions to renewable energy sources. Several countries pledged additional investments in green technologies, though critics argue commitments still fall short of what's needed. Activists like Greta Thunberg joined the conversation online, amplifying calls for immediate action beyond political rhetoric. As discussions wrapped up, participants agreed to reconvene soon, hoping to build momentum toward tangible solutions. With so many pressing issues dominating headlines worldwide, the stakes feel higher than ever for governments and citizens alike. From Epstein revelations to geopolitical conflicts and economic shifts, each story shapes our understanding of an increasingly complex world. Stay tuned for updates as events continue unfolding rapidly. Because in politics, every moment matters.